Good morning. It is February 15th, 2023. As far as the news goes, it's all about what those balloons and objects were that they shot down. It's about the train wreck that's spewing polyvinyl chloride gas into the air and poisoning people, and it's about the Chinese, the Russians, and Ukraine in World War III, and it's all about the big fight over transgenderism and whether a man can really be a woman and all of those crazy ideas. I can't tell you what's going on. I just know something is going on. I know the wheels are turning very fast. Oh, and this revival in this big revival in this church in campus in Kentucky. Rand Paul is from Kentucky. That's Rand Paul State. All right, I'm going to try. I got something to talk to you about this morning, and I'll tease you a little bit. I'm going to talk about the Hoochie Koochie show. All right? I don't know if you ever heard of that. That's what we called it. The Hoochie Koochie show. All right, going for 12 arrows in a row for the pecan pie. Right in the middle. My pie plate's about torn up. I got to get this pecan pie pretty quick or I'll have no target. That's one. Two. The odds go up. It gets harder and harder as you approach 12-hour arrows. Three. Four. I can taste it. I'm beginning to taste it. Five. Six. Seven. Eight. Four more to go. Nine. This is where it's getting intense. 10. 11. I've done it to 11 before. It was that 12th arrow that I got nervous on. I think that I hit it then. All right, let's walk up and let's check those arrows out. Let's see what we got here. Okay, there it is. 12 arrows in a row for the prize of the pecan pie. Now, I can talk to you now, tell you about my real job. My real purpose and job for being out here, other than to try to challenge myself to get a pecan pie, is to declare the name of Yeshua the Messiah. And he's also known as Jesus Christ. To declare his name before men. And I'm using this archery platform to try to draw people into my little channel so that I can talk to them about that. Now, is that a legitimate thing to do, to try to draw people in and then start talking about something else? Well, I think it is. And I'm going to tell you now. Now, what has the Hoochie Koochie show got to do with Yeshua the Messiah? I'm going to get over here in the shade and I'm going to try to tell you. All right, when I was a teenager, a young teenager, playing football, I heard there was a so-called carnival in town. And the talk around the football team was the Hoochie Koochie show at the fair. Now, this was the older boys that had gone apparently to this. And the Hoochie Koochie show, I guess you know what that is. And there was a Hoochie Koochie girl, and I think I remember that her name was Betty DeBotta. And they were talking about the Hoochie Koochie show. I never went to the carnival. But later in years after that, I had attended a few of them. And I found out that what it was a bunch of rides. And they also had tents or booths where you would pay some money to go in and look at certain things. And there were barkers, they called them, out in front of each tent. Sometimes they would have a freak show, for example, where they had a bunch of people that were misformed or some kind of unfortunate people one way or another. And I'm sure they didn't want to do that for a living, but they had no choice. So you'd go in and look at the freaks. Then they had, of course, the Hoochie Koochie show, and they might have had one of the Coochies out there to draw you in. You would pay your money and go in there, and they would promise you to see something that you weren't used to seeing. You had your flim flam man that was had a table with some half nutshells on there, and you'd put your money and he would move them around, and you would have to guess where the marble was or whatever was under there. And if you lost track of it, you would lose your money. They had the booth where you shot a .22 rifle, and if you hit 10 times in a row, you would get some kind of prize. It usually wasn't a pecan pie. In fact, I did one when I was in college, and I did the rifle challenge, and I knew how to shoot a .22 rifle very well. And I was knocking it over every time. But then, as I was approaching to win the prize, and the prize was, back in those days, this was a big deal, was a little black and white TV set about that big. And I wanted that for my college dorm. But as I began to approach winning it, the light began to get more dim, and I was having more trouble seeing the target. And I was aware enough or observant enough to see the man's hand down here behind the counter. And he was turning the lights down that lighted up the target as I got closer. Well, I caught him. I stepped over there and called him on it. Hey man, you're turning the lights down where I can't win the prize. You're cheating. Well, he denied it, of course, and all that, and being a young guy and all, and I guess I gave him $1 to try for the TV. I just finally let it go. But I learned a good lesson. That when you pay these people, they want your money. You don't get anything from them. You might occasionally win a prize, like a little teddy bear or something like that. But those prizes aren't worth what you pay. They're junk, to be honest with you. Some kind of fake jewelry or something like that. Then they had the rides, you know, you could get on the roller coaster and the rides and all that. Okay, so all of these booths that you went in, to me, it occurred to me this morning, these are the temptations of the world. And you always lose. You never come out when you do these things. The gambling, and of course there was drinking and drugs involved in that too, you know, and as you did that, you began to lose your sense of knowing what you were doing. Well, I wasn't drinking and wasn't doing drugs at that time, so I caught the man cheating on the little shooting gallery thing. So each one of those things represents a worldly temptation, which we're all tempted by. But there's one booth that is not at that. There's another booth, and the booth is the booth of Yeshua Jesus. All of these barkers at these booths are asking you to go in. Nowadays, you don't have to go to a carnival. It's the booth of the drugs, the booth of pornography, the booth of false religion. The booth, if it's a religious fear, it could be the booth of the church that teaches you that you can work your way into heaven by good works. That's a very prevalent one. But Yeshua says, and by the way, I'm the barker for him. He's asked me to declare his name before men, along with thousands and hundreds of thousands of other people. And we're saying, come into the tent of Yeshua. And this is what he said, his words to invite you into the tent. I am the way and the life. No man comes to the Father but through me. He says, follow me. Don't follow these other who. Don't come in those tents. You've already been in those tents and you found out you got cheated in there. You don't come out when you go in those things. Now you've been beaten up by the world. You've done that. Now I'm asking you, come to me. My burden is light and my load is light. And I will give you rest in my tent. He's inviting you into his tent. And he makes promises to you. Come to me, you that are thirsty, and I will give you living water. And when you drink that living water, a spring of everlasting life will come up, and you will have eternal life. He's asking you to come. Now, if you've been beat up by the world out there, and you have, if you're alive, you've been beat up by the world, and you've gone into each one of those tents in a little way, and maybe some of you have been in there and gotten hooked on it, like drugs particularly. You get hooked and your body is racking with pain. You can't quit it. Or you've gone into the Hoochie Koochie show. That's a big one right there. It will take a miracle that can only be performed by Yeshua, Jesus. He can break that habit from you if you will come in his tent. It's like a hospital. You just can't do it by yourself. He's saying, come to me, all of you who are hooked on the world, and I will give you rest to your souls. And he offers eternal life. Okay, so how can you get into his tent? You have to walk in. That's all you have to do. I'm saying come on in. And that just means believe him. Believe that when you go in that tent, he's offering you what you need. I can't get into the details. He's God. He does it his way. He's got a magic. He's God. He can get you in there and heal you. All right. This is what came to my mind this morning to try to explain the kingdom of heaven and how to get this water, everlasting life. In another parable, he described it as a great pearl, that a man sold everything that he had to get that pearl. Well, when you do give yourself to Yeshua, then you're essentially selling everything that you have, not your physical possessions, but you're turning loose of your own godship, your own self-righteousness, your own pride. That's selling everything that you have to purchase the pearl. I can go on and on and on without this, but I'm going to stop. This is Gardner Israel signing off.